That
that
that,
happens.
that didn't go according to plan, I
Should we
guess.
start again?
Redo
No,
it
it's
again.
not
Do
really.
it.
Wait, let's go.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay! All
Try
right.
that again.
Welcome
Do it
to
again.
the. Should we? No.
It's such a
It's
good
a
intro.
great
Do
intro.
it again.
That was
It's amazing.
That was so professional. Thank
Okay.
you for our graphic designer, Clelia,
Yeah,
working on
yeah.
that awesome
Clearly,
video.
it's so great. I love it. It's so smooth. Ah,
We really upped our production value, even though we're still just as unprepared during the stream.
that's fine. We look pretty while doing it.
Don't say that. People will not notice.
We have a lot of cool stuff for you tonight, or today, or this afternoon, depending on where you are. You might be in the future if you're in New Zealand.
Hi, Jesse.
And I'm in New York.
Oh, I'm in Washington State.
Oh, well,
I'm in
Um,
Leiden.
where's
I'm
What was
Leiden?
the name?
Oh,
Hmm?
well, and also a little introduction of myself too. So my name is Madalena. If you don't know me, I've been around for a year now, leading the product and design team. So I'm glad to be here.
Hey, I'm Missy. I'm the community and social media manager for Home Assistant.
I'm Bram. I work on the front end of Home Assistant, and I live in Leiden, the Netherlands. Yeah,
In his new house, so
in my new house. Yeah,
no Home Assistant logo yet.
Oh
Right
yeah,
in the back.
someone noticed that.
and no good mic yet, and no good camera yet, and no, but we'll get there eventually.
And
We
I'm
can hear you.
Matthias. I am a UX designer for Nabokasa.
Oh, that's awesome. There's a lot of front end and UX and awesome people here today. What are we going to talk about?
Ooh, I think we're talking about dashboards.
Oh yes, dashboards. So yes, actually, let's do it, shall we? Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. Sorry, trying to find the slide. So, well, how is everyone doing? While I'm trying to share the slides, I guess.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm recovering from a broken foot. It's lovely.
All right. What's new in dashboard? Awesome. Well, first thing is let's see what happened in the last time. So last time we introduced this project Grace, which is based on a previous front-end UI called Lovelace, celebrating Ada Lovelace. And this time we're celebrating Grace Hopper, which is the vanguard in computing. And we're dedicated this new version of the UI after her. So what this is about is that this is going to be the new default interface that we're working on. We want to make sure that this is suitable for use in every type of screens, tablets, tablets on your wall or like on the desktop. We want to make sure that this is home approved. That means it works with everyone in the house, and it's going to be a great dashboard for you to monitor and control your smart home. So this is not just for admins, this is for everybody, and it's going to build on top of what we previously have on Lovelace. And last chapter, we talk about drag and drop, and the thing that we had a few exploration in the drag and drop, and what we realized is that we have been using a layout called masonry, and the way the masonry layout that like moves the cards around is unfortunately inherently incompatible with like drag and drop, because every time when things move around, it's very unpredictable where the card will actually land. So we come up with something new, which is a sections layout. And so there are a few things that we introduced last time. There's the cards within sections. Each section have 4 columns, like a grid system, and the section is gonna flow on a page in a Z grid. So every time you resize it, you know where exactly like where your cards will be, no matter what size of screens that you're on. Is there anything that I forgot? Let's see. It's doing experimentation right now, by the way, so it's not our production yet, but soon we will.
Yeah.
So what's new since chapter 1? So there's a Hive rank. So that's a lot of new things since chapter 1. So since chapter 1, it's been around, well, 4 months, 5 months now. So in 2024.3, we have the new sections field with drag and drop. And then after that, we added a whole bunch of features. Like we didn't wait until chapter 2 to drop these features, because I want to make sure that everyone get to use it as soon as they can. So there are a few things that is pretty awesome in the last few releases. First, you got the options for number of columns in sections. So that means that if you resize the screen wider, you can actually make sure that the content doesn't stretch way too wide if you have like a maximum number of columns. After that, we added drag and drop for card features. We're gonna show, if you don't know what card features are, these are these extra rows that you can add at the bottom of each card, and so that you can use more features. You can have more control over an entity for each tile card. So we not only added the card features, we allow you to like move the order of it with drag and drop. We added visibility options. So that means that like instead of using a conditional card, now you can just control the visibility of each section and card individually without needing it to be wrapped inside a conditional card. So it can change whether to show a card depending on what user is using, so that you can hide cards that some users don't need to see, or you can change whether to show or hide a section of card depending on the state of an entity. So for example, if you turn on the TV, then it knows you can set a conditional so that like entertainment section will pop out when the TV turns on. And
You can do more than that.
do we? What do we do?
We also have screen size, for example.
Oh yes, that too. So yeah, it's like if you resize the screen, you actually can also show or hide different cards too. So like you can have like things that are only for mobile or like on a bigger screen size. And then of course there's this, which is let's see, dashboard background. That one we didn't plan ahead, but thanks to our contributor, and I think who did it again, by the way? Kawas, I guess. Right? No,
No,
sorry,
someone else.
Oh.
I don't know from the top of
Wrong.
my head who.
Oh no, I'm sorry, guy wrong. But I'll remember. I'll look it up and give the contributor the right credits later. But yes, thanks to the contributor, now you can actually set backgrounds for your dashboard, and each dashboard view you can have a different background. So
You could already do it, right? It's just now in the UI.
yes, exactly. And last but not the least, last one we added a way to you to finally resize the cards in the size that you want. So now, like for example, the climate card doesn't like necessarily need to occupy the entire width of a section. You can actually make it narrower, and you can like fill up the space more with like different cards and like with the exact size that you want. So now what's next is what's new in this version then? What's exciting about this version, Bram?
I'm speaking in a toilet. into a toilet. Apparently, I do got a good mic, by the way, but it's not set up yet here. So I will for my next live stream. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're
Uh,
not Chilton. But yeah.
hmm?
Oh, yes. So the thing that is we've done is called badges. What exactly are badges? It's been around for a while, right?
Yeah, they have been around for a long, long time now. They
Yeah.
are ancient.
They're like historic, so they're like from the first time I see it in our block. Well, since now we just changed the layout of the block, it's a lot easier to browse like what the old blog posts look like now. Badger's been around at least since version 20, not even 20 something actually. It's version 0.70, which is from August 2015. Is anybody around in the chat here that's from that era of Home Assistant?
I think badges are
Disco?
older than that.
Badges
They
are
were-
older than that.
badges were- yeah, badges were here before I ever touched Home Assistant.
So I mean, like this is one of the first designs, right? It's like so people knew back then, like long time ago, back in the ancient days of Home Assistant, people already know that this is a necessary thing that they need to put at the top of the dashboard. So what they really use it for is that since it's at the top of the dashboard, right? When you open the dashboard, you can see it at a glance, the top things that you need to know about that page. So it's kind of like you're pinning the most important things at the top of your screen. And so you can take a look at one glance and see everything you need for the day. So it is pretty useful, but unfortunately, the design of it is pretty bulky. Right? It's really tall. And if you can see it, like the names here doesn't really fit the entire the width of the card. You get cropped off. So we come up with a new design. So we look at the case studies that we have. So what was the case? Where did the case studies come from again, by the way, Matthias? I think it was from
Our friend Lewis. He,
Oh, yeah, Lewis.
From, Lewis. Everything Smart
From
Home.
Everything Smart Home.
Yes, Everything Smart Home. He created this YouTube series where he checked upon other people's dashboard. So he collected a bunch of them. And we also collected a bunch of them because people are really eager to share their experience on Reddit and on forums. So we have a nice collection of screenshots where we get a great inspiration from. For example, badges. How are they used?
Yeah. And we looked at 100 different dashboards.
Yes.
And we found that 2 people use badges, which is great. But like, then you wonder, well, why don't we just phase it out then? Because like so few people use it. Well, because instead of badges, we found that people actually use this instead. What is that? Well, Paul is not here, but Paul created that card at the top.
Chips.
That is called a chips. It's the mushroom chip
Well,
card.
While we're talking about Paul, we should credit him for most of the work that we're sharing in this evening.
Oh, yes.
He's on vacation right now, but he
Yeah.
did most of the work on dashboard.
Yes,
He's been really busy on dashboards and doing a very, very, very nice job at it.
the entire stream is powered by Paul. So
Yeah.
have a great vacation, Paul. And so yeah, these tiny chips at the top is called chips card from Mushroom. Oh, so that was spoilery. But yeah, so since everyone is doing that, we have decided to incorporate that as the new design for the badges in our dashboard. So should we do a demo?
Yes, please.
We
Demo?
should.
Demo time?
Demo time? Yeah, let's do the demo time banner.
We're getting that updated
Oh.
too. It's gonna be so nice.
Do you want to demo, Bram, or should I demo?
Let me. Where is it? Demo
what
time.
demo?
That one. Oh, I like that one. These are so nice. Hang on. Where's the other one?
My
We're losing
computer
all
is,
our
like,
stuff,
struggling
guys.
right now.
Oh, bad
This is
exposure.
new.
There we go.
Professional.
Nice job, guys. We're the most professional.
I think Bram shared the screen. Okay, well, okay. Let's
You
get
can
that on
take my screen.
to the
Yeah.
stage. Ta-da! So
Ta-da.
this is Bram's dashboard. Wow, your house only have 4 things.
Yeah.
Just moved.
Yeah, you just moved. Yeah, you're right.
So this is the new sections view, and I don't have badges right now because they were horrible before. But now I can add badges. And how it used to work is that you got into edit mode, and then you would go to the view, and there would be a tab here that said badges, and there was an entity picker, and that's it. You could pick entities, and there were some options for badges. There were even different type of badges, but there was no UI for it, and you would have to all do it in YAML. But as you can see, that badges tab is no longer around. So how do we do it now? If you're now in edit mode, you see this plus thingy on the top, the same as the how you add a card to a section. You can now just click this to. Oh, I see a bug here. Oh, you don't see it. That's good. The tooltip is not correct. And you can add a badge. We currently have one badge, the entity badge. That is the badge that the design was inspired by the mushroom chip. And if you add it, you get a UI editor for it.
Oh no.
So you can just change all the options in the UI. And we have some options. There are 3 display types. The standard is an icon and a state. There's also a smaller version with only an icon. And there's a complete version that has an icon, a name on top, and the state. And the name is on top of the value. You can override the name, you can override the icon, you can override the color. You can also choose the entity picture instead of the icon. This entity doesn't have an entity picture, but if I would pick a person, for example, I can
Who's that?
make it, I don't know, that's just a stock image. This is my dev system. This is not my real system.
What is the stock image of?
It's just a kid with a picture,
That's
lovely.
awesome.
with a
It's so
camera.
nice. How many badges can you add in the section? Can you have more badges than one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You can have as many as you want. You can even do it by entity. So you can say, I want a badge of all my lights. Let's do lights. I want these lights. And it will create badges for me. And I can add those badges.
Boom.
But what you can also do is, by default, it shows the state. But I can also say, like, I don't want to show the state, but I want to show the. Oh, it shows the brightness, by the way. But I want to show the state, so on or off. And I also want to know the brightness. And I also want to know the color temperature. So you can
Nice.
show multiple values.
Customize the text. That's awesome.
I see some
Oh.
questions about templating in badges, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They're by default, our badges don't support templating, but I believe Mushroom Cards by our friend Paul has support for custom badges that support templating. So if you want templating,
Mm.
that's also possible with the mushroom.
Oh yes.
So yes,
So
you can add custom badges.
You can add mushroom chips cards in that area too.
Yeah,
Zach
you
wants
can
to know
if
what
you
drag
want.
and drop
Yeah,
is.
you can.
Nice.
You can
Looks
reorder
lovely.
them by drag and dropping, of course.
Oh yes, of course. Drag and drop. This has been the year of drag and drop so far.
You can also copy them and then paste them. You can also duplicate it and cut it and then paste it somewhere else. So they're pretty neat features and they look awesome.
Nice.
I agree.
So
That's
as
badges.
if I were a card
wait!
developer,
I see.
Oh.
I see an important question. We just
Oh,
talked
yes.
about the visibility option that was added to
oh yes,
sections
Yeah.
and cards. They're also available for badges. So yes, you can add any condition you want to a badge. So for example, I can make this badge only show on mobile, and now it's gone on desktop. Yeah.
nice. Drag and drop visibility options. So yeah, what you can do is like you can, for example, right? If you can only if you want to have the badges only show when like the temperature gets beyond a certain degrees, you can do that. So like you can
Yep.
save the space and like make the dashboards less cluttered when you don't need to know about something. But when something that like that you want to be alerted by, you can use conditionals and visibility options to show it when you want that data to be visible.
Yep.
Nice.
Boom, gone.
Someone wants to know if the text can go below the icon. Not
Nope.
yet. Okay.
Not at
Yeah,
the moment.
that's not
No.
what this design. Yeah, right now, yeah, the badges will be limited to the header section of the page. Right.
We do have labels, right, inside the
Labels.
so the entity name. Can you demo that?
Oh yeah, you can
You
add
mean,
the name of the.
Yeah, you can make it
Yeah.
like this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
What kind of visibility things did you do? All gone, bam.
Oh yes.
Yes.
So now you have 2 lines of text.
So you can do 2 lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good time to talk a bit more about the design of them, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this design is like very much based on the mushroom chips card design. I mean, we have like bigger plans for where these chips are going to go, like what these badges are going to go. So it's not going to be just limited to the top of the headers. We want that to be like in sections as well, and that's like work in progress.
Yes. Seen a bunch of questions about that. That's definitely on our radar. Something we want.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and okay, any plans to implement something similar to that? So this is the way badges works are, even though they look very similar to the filters that you can see in the Apple Home app, but these that actually work differently because these aren't actually filters. These are really just like a small tile card, essentially, that is at the top of the page. But if you want to make something similar, you can probably use a helper or something like that and use it to toggle on and off the
Yep.
sections on the page.
Definitely. And there's the option to have custom badges. Like Mushroom is
yes.
one of the options for custom badge. So if you really want to have a more kind of Apple Home style badge, that's definitely something you can build. And with the visibility options, you can build it like filters as Apple Home does, or go beyond what Apple Home does. That's one of the cool things like Home Assistant is, that you can have the tweakability to your own liking, basically.
Mhm. Yep. So we added a new, I think, a developer documentation on how to make custom badges. So it's very similar to making custom cards, essentially. So if you're card developers, please definitely check it out and like create some awesome badges that we had never even think about before.
Yeah. Yeah, we everything was there already. Like custom badges could already be created, but we didn't have tab cards, we didn't have editors, we didn't have anything. It's all there now. So yeah, your custom badges will just show up in the badge picker. You can have editors, you can have everything that you can also do with custom cards. That's cool.
Yes.
They're now first-class citizens instead of old, ancient, ugly ducklings.
I've seen a question, when will this be released? This will be released in our next release. So that's, I don't know the exact date. 2 weeks?
weeks. Mhm.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah,
First Wednesday of
2024.8.
August.
Beta's coming out next Wednesday.
Yep, beta starts next Wednesday. If you guys want to mess around with it before it actually goes out to the full release.
Nice. Cool. So that's all the new features since the last chapter 1. So, but what we hear is that, well, as you might have seen in the notice, in the tweets, or in the post and the blog post that we have, or in the description of YouTube, this stream, we very much want to engage with the designers and the card developers in our community. So there's something that like we would love to invite you all and join us, like to talk about and design and create together. And that's what we're here for today. So a little story. Once upon a time, when Home Assistant first started the Lovelace UI, right? It's really just like, from what I heard, I think Bram can probably tell a better story. It was like all the developers come together and they just start making cards, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just developers thinking, hey, this might be nice, this might be cool, let's build something. Yeah.
And you guys added a lot of cards back then, right?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, we
It was,
even removed cards after they were added, and yeah,
yeah.
because
But
they were
we
unmaintainable
haven't
or too big.
Yeah, we haven't really changed the cards much for a while now, right? So
Nope.
what we
No.
want to try to do this time is to do this again, essentially. So just a little bit about designing in open source projects, right? Usually, like it's very right. If you're a designer and you don't know how to use GitHub, it's very hard to be engaged in the open source community, because if you don't know how to code, like it's very hard to contribute. If you know how to code, though, like you can change the entire Home Assistant website in just a weekend if you want to, right? But so here's the thing, right? We know that in our community there's a lot of great design talent. We've seen people's dashboards. We've seen like what kind of like custom cards, like some of the people just learn how to use JavaScript and create it. And like we want you to be involved in like the contributing to Home Assistant too, right? We know that we have a lot of great custom cards out there. So what we want to do is that, like, usually, like in an open source community, for designers to try to help with like development, they don't know when exactly to contribute, because like the timeline for like research and ideation is different from the timeline of like contributing, especially in our monthly release cadence. So it's not hard, it's not easy to contribute. And what we want to do is that, well, the plan that we come up with, the audacious plan that we come up with, like between Matthias and I, is that we want to be able to engage with the community, and we will act as essentially the coordinator or the product manager here to help really like engage with the designers in our community and try to make sure that the designs will work with our dashboard, and so that we can get them developed with the talents that we have, like the card developers that we have in our community.
That's something we wanted for a long time, right? So to have
Yes.
we have over 1,000 developers that contribute every year to Home Assistant, but not a lot of designers yet. So it's gonna be a great experiment, let's call it like this. So I'm excited about the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, we call this the semi open source design at the Home Assistant project beta, because we're not sure if it's gonna work or not, but we do want to try, because like we know that like we have the talents in our community. And so they're gonna be like 5 steps that's gonna be like in the next few months. So the first thing is we want to like assemble a dashboard working group together. So we're gonna share the sign up form with you. We're gonna have a blog post tomorrow that you can sign up, and we want to know like what you have previously designed, or what kind of cards you've created before, so that we know like what you can contribute and help out with the most in our like dashboard working group. And second is that we want to do a meet and greet, right? Like once we get the whole working group together, we can get like, we want to make sure that like everyone in the community actually get to meet each other, like on Discord, chat about it and know like what each other like and what you're good at, so we can all decide what the goals of this project is going to be together, and also like what kind of style, what kind of design system that we're looking for. And next is that we're going to start small. So like we're not going to just change all the cards at the same time. We're going to pick some of the easier cards to start with first, like things with a more limited scope in terms of like the goals, the product goals, as well as in terms of like the visual design aspect of it. And so like, for example, things like the gauge card, or like the light card, or maybe the area card, something like that, we can start with those. And then before we go into more ambitious cards like the media player, or like the sensor cards with the graph and all that. And yes, once the process starts, we want to make sure that like we're not just like designing for aesthetics. We want to make sure that like we're designing for users as well. So we want to engage with the community to validate the design, do some quick research and check, like show the community which design's better, so that we can pick the best one and like apply it and like implement it into Home Assistant. And then so once we finalize,
here we can help. Really, I think especially in this part we can really help, right? So the essence of open source is that everyone can contribute, right? But in this case, like making sure that the research is done and is even paid for, even if we might have to pay for something, that's something we can help out with, right? So that's, we definitely want to do.
Yeah, like say if we have like 2 designs we want to A/B test it, yes, we can definitely like try to validate it.
Yep.
And then once we get to the final design, and hopefully we can prototype it along the way as well. Once it's done, then we just push it to the release, and then everyone will have new cards to use. So that's the plan. Yay. Yeah, so so there's a few things that we really are looking for contributors. So first is like we want to revamp existing cards. We want people to build new features. We want people to build new cards, and we actually also want to incorporate any popular cards that is like on Hex right now. So first thing, let's see, for revamping existing cards, right? So there are a few things like that. For example, the tile card and the thermostat card, they're already very well designed, as you can see. Like they fit into the design grid on the sections layout very well. The cards can adjust according to the number of rows and columns within the grid. But there are a lot of other cards that are in our list, like 24 of them, that needs a lot of work. So like the cards that like it's probably going to take a long time to do, for example, like the graphs or the entities card. So we're going to deal with that later. But like things that might need some work, like gauge or like the weather forecast, things like that, that's something that would be awesome to have like everyone help out with. And we also want to like reduce the dependency of custom card, and to do that is to have some of the most used custom cards to be part of Home Assistant, right? If everybody is using it and incorporating in a dashboard, why go through the hassle of like using hacks to get that on the dashboard, right? So just like how we included mushroom card now into tile card, or we included the mushroom chips into badges, right? We can actually do the same. Like there's some really awesome cards out there. I love the sand key diagram, for example. Things like that would be awesome, like as part of Home Assistant.
I also see a comment about the WCAG or WCAG. I don't know. In Dutch we say WCAG. That's not how you should pronounce it, but it's how I'm pronouncing it. Definitely, we definitely do this. We already do this. We get a lot of comments already on GitHub about our accessibility, and this is definitely we should include, in my opinion. So if you have experience in this, please sign up and help us out.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, we did like quite a lot of user research on that, which Matthias is going to show you. Like that, we're going to make sure that the cards are usable and accessible to people.
Yes.
And yeah, there are also opportunities to create new cards, right? We look at different people's dashboards. We've seen that everyone loves to have a clock, for example, at the top of the dashboard. Yes, you can use a markdown card to create a clock, but like, what if we have like a clock face card or something that people can change clock face easily and like have an awesome clock, like analog clock if they want on the dashboard. So things like that. So yeah, we'll love to see more contributions. So definitely join us in the dashboard working group. All right. Anything else that I forget? Oh yes, card features. I'm reading from right to left, so I'm weird. I read articles from the bottom to top, so like a reverse time traveler. But yeah, so yeah, build new card features. So there are a lot of card features in tile card already, but do you know that you can actually build more of it? So we have added documentation of it. So if you want to like add a mini graph as a card features, you might be able to do that. If you want to do like a drop-down menu, anything like that. And you can also incorporate card features into your card too, right? Is that true? I just want to verify. Is that true, Rem?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, so all cards can benefit from having card features, and those card features are shared too, right?
Yeah, you can create custom card features. We have updated dev docs for those too.
Nice. So yes. So yeah, so that's the plan. But before we get the plan rolling, we need to make sure that like everyone follows the same design guidelines and system. So we did some work in the past few months to make sure, like, to really finalize the dimensions and the design of the cards. And one of the things that we did is to finalize the size of the dimensions of the design grid. So right now, the design grid has two problems. One of it is that like if you add more features to the tile card, since the height of each feature is not the same as the height of each row in the grid, so the more tile card features you add, the bigger the gap it is between the top of the card and the tile card features, as you can see in the example on the left. So that's something that we want to solve. And another thing is that like the information density, we want to really like optimize it to be not too high, but also not too low either. So we want to try to find the right balance. And to do that, we went through many iterations of different sizes. As you can tell, they are all slightly different. So this is like classic pixel pushing right there. But yes, so like we tried different sizes, different heights, different tile card feature heights, different like gutter, different padding, and try to find the right balance. And since like the height of each feature, like as you add more feature, it also adds the number of rows, but the number of rows also have the gap between them, so it's not the same number being added. So it's very hard to find the right balance. In the end, we tweak it a little bit, so we have the new specs here. So the tile card is going to be a little bit shorter in the next version. Going to be
In 2
shipped
weeks.
10 pixels shorter. Yep.
Yep.
The icon's going to be a little bit smaller, but the feature height's going to be a little bit taller.
This is real back to basic hardcore design, right? This is where
Yes,
what's
that is.
what's it about.
So yes. So the reason we have to finalize that is because like the height of a row is very much fixed in the grid system, and all the new cards that we design is going to like based on that number to determine how many rows that is going to occupy. So that's why we want to do this before we ask everyone for help first. But now we can. Then what else? And we come up with a few design guidelines, which is something that we're going to talk more about later.
Yes. So these design guidelines are coming from research what we did. So more details about it later. Basically, we've got 4 guidelines. So the first one is each card used for controls should have clear primary action. This is more or less also a basic design guideline on itself. There should be only one primary action, one thing that jumps into your eye as you should do with this card. And the second one is affordance. So everything that is designed to invite users to interact with should look clickable. So that means this is one of the reasons why we did the research. How are users finding, experiencing what you can click and what you can't click? For example, in the entities card, you can click on a row and then you get a more info dialog, or you can click on a button and something else happens. So that's one thing. So it should feel clickable, basically. The third one is features get better results than icon buttons. That's something we found out more on that later again. But features, as explained, those are sliders, buttons, like clear indicators what things are. And the last one, don't clutter up the card. Keep it to the point, basically.
Yep, don't put too much stuff in it. So yeah, if we want to make sure that like your card is going to be part of Home Assistant, we want to make sure that like it works with these guidelines. Like we want to have the right balance of like not too many features to be overwhelming to most users, but at the same time, they should all have like an editable UI.
Yes. And this is what we found out now, right? So even in the working group, feel free to discuss this or add or challenge if you want to.
Mhm. Another thing you can do as a card developer is that now that we have like finalized the size of the grid, you can actually add the card resizing logic to your cards so that like your cards can fit the grid system better. So each card can have its own minimum, maximum, and default width and height. So every time when you add the card, you could it will be the default width and height, and the user can have the option to resize it to how small it should be or how large it should be. As you can see, it's a function. So what that means is that like that number can change according to like the contents inside the card too, right? So like for example, in the tile card, if you add more features, the minimum height of it will change, right? It will become bigger because it need to fit all those features. Do you have anything to add, Bram, from the developer side of it?
No, not really. So there's a default, a min, and a max for both the rows and the columns, and yeah, it's all documented in more detail with how many pixels in the dev docs. So check those out.
And as a user, you will also experience this if you go to the dashboard edit mode and then the edit of the card, and you want to slide the new slider we introduced. Then it's that minimum width it gets stuck with, right? So that's really useful.
Yeah.
Please add it to your card.
Yep, please add it to the card if you're doing a custom card development. Ta-da. Yes, so what can you do now as a custom card developer? So there was that. So make sure that it's resizable according to its contents, fit the card in the grid system, try to follow the guidelines from our user research on usability, ensure that most needed features are editable in the UI, and hide the less needed features away from the UI. And also add the ability to use card features. Cool. So what's next? It's gonna be we have some time left still. Let's do a little deep dive, shall we?
Yes.
So how did we come up with all these like usability guidelines? Let's do it.
So we did some UX research because we had some questions and some assumptions, and we summarized that in these two. I trained on this word because English is not my natural language. Hypothesis. I did perfect. It's a hard word. Hypothesis. It's a weird one. I can't do it. Okay, so we have two of those. So the first one, a chevron helps understand the difference between clicking the card or the icon button. And what we mean by this is that a chevron is that famous triangle that can go up, down, right, or left. And depending on if you read from left to right or right to left, in this example on the right, it should be an arrow to the right. You often see this in for example, in settings menus or even in drop-downs. And the second one is making the icon button less flat design. Should give more affordance and helps understand the entity quick action. And what we mean by this, for example, if you tap on the light icon, you turn it on or off, depending if it's on or off. So that's a quick action or the primary action. And we thought if we make it less flat, it should feel more clickable. And we, Madeleine and I did an exercise, as you can see on the right. What will happen if you tap where? With a bunch of arrows and a bunch of descriptions. And we did this test based on the tel card to get a first round of feedback.
So yeah, these are assumptions so far, and we are doing some research. We have done some research to prove whether our assumptions are right or wrong. So as you can see, there's so many click targets on the card, like do people really understand that clicking the wrong part opens more info, or clicking the wrong part toggles the button? Like, then what happens when you click the white part of the card card? Right. So we did a few user tests.
Yes.
So
So what we did 2 test runs, in total of 100 non-Home Assistant users. So we did it especially not. You shouldn't have used Home Assistant, because then you know what will happen if you tap what. So we did with non-Home Assistant users, and we used Listener for this, also known as Usability Hub. They recently rebranded. And each test, what we did, we split the group in 2. We did one group with a chevron, as you can see on the right, and one group without a chevron. And we were interested what people would thought if we test them and ask questions, as you can see on the right. What happens when you tap here? So it's an open form. You can go all ahead, and we got a bunch of interesting responses. Finally, okay, cool. Thanks for the comment. So, if you go to the next slide, the first one, our first hypothesis. Oh, I'm not going to say it again. First check. So what we found out, a chevron doesn't help understand the difference between clicking the card or the icon button. I'm missing a screenshot on the right. Oh, there. Ooh. There are. Can you go one back?
We need, yeah.
One more back. One back. I don't know what's happening here. It's weird. Okay,
This
so
one, right? Yeah.
this one is correct. So a small table for more details at the bottom. So no, this isn't helping to understand the difference. So it's basically half of the users doesn't see the difference between tapping the icon or tapping the card. So no, a chevron doesn't help. It even adds extra UI element to the card. So in conclusion, it doesn't bring extra to the table. You're muted, by the way, Madalena.
Oh, that's a tiny like arrow on the right of the card, right? Correct?
Tiny. Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
that's a surprising result, because like in iOS they added that chevron in every single list item in the like settings
Yes.
page or like any list fields. But it
It's
turns out
interesting, yeah.
the chevron
I
does
was
nothing.
surprised. I was surprised by this result. No.
I was surprised too. Yeah. So, which is great. That means we don't need to add the chevron, and the card is cleaner as a result.
Yes. So the next one,
Next.
our next assumption, also incorrect. It doesn't. So making the icon button less flat, so we tried something out here on the right, doesn't give more affordance and help understand the entity quick action. So as you can see, we did a couple of tests. One of the tests was just the tel card, and one with the tel card with only the features and no icon button, as I call it. So the icon, you can tap on it, and then it's called an icon button. Pretty straightforward. So the no feature, so it's 25 people had it correct, 20 people had it incorrect, where if you can see the big difference when we add a feature, then 37 have it correct and 12 incorrect. Which makes sense, because the general design guideline would say that this probably would work better, and that's definitely the case here, because these icons will tell what this garage is doing. In this case, closing the garage, closing the garage.
Yeah,
Wrong
so
icon
yeah,
bar.
in the purple button, we try to put a border around it to make it more obvious that is a button, but turns out people still don't understand that is a button. Like, I guess like we stopped short of like making it like a skeuomorphic like 3D button. Maybe that people will get it, but that would make the dashboard look very cluttered. So we try to avoid that. But yeah, so like adding the plus minus buttons makes it a lot clearer than like just having a circle, because that's ambiguous.
Yeah. Does that mean that we have
Next.
to redesign everything? More on that later. Spoiler, no, not really. But before I continue, so card tap actions isn't clear for everyone. So as I said before, so half of the people thought is if you tap where the purple arrow is, that you, as we currently have, open the more info dialog, and the other half thought you can interact with the entity, so control the light in this case. Some people thought even if they are used to, for example, Google Home, if you tap on Google Home in these type of cards, you dim it to this percentage. So one of the learnings we find out here is that also what we notice is during this research, when we ask a couple of times, on the long run, they figure out that it might be different. So respondents learned that by using it, but that's not a great experience if you're going to use Home Assistant for the first time. Finding number two. Basically the same, only for the icon button. All the way around. So half of the users had it correct, and they said this is a quick action and you can control it. Well, the other half thought you open more info, like they call it a pop-up, for example, where you can control the light. So the same as the previous one. If you go to finding number 3, that's more about the features, what we called. Features give definitely a better results. So these kind of interactive elements are clearer and they show what the action does. So in this example for the garage. But the downside is that it requires more space. So that's something we need to think about. Finding number 4. What we also find out is if during the first test we had both the icon button and the feature at the same time, people did get confused by it. So in the second run of the test, we removed it and we only had the feature if it's the same action as the icon button. So for this example, the garage, if you had an icon button here, it should close the garage, which is basically the same as the arrow down. So this is what we found out. If you have a feature that does the same as the icon button, you should drop the icon button.
Yeah, because otherwise it makes the round button ambiguous, like what that really actually does. And
yep. And then the last one, this is what I found out the most interesting one personally, because we had sensor data in entity cards. We tried different designs, more or less as the entity card itself, and people were confused. So the finding here is sensor entities must have a different design or layout than controllable entities. Because what we found out is that in the example of a temperature, this is in Celsius, by the way, people thought you could control your AC or HVAC or your thermostat in general. They thought it was just a thermostat you could control, not just the temperature sensor. So we should do something better here, and we definitely can help, use your help in this case. So sign up again for the work group. That were the findings.
You muted again, Madalena.
those are our findings. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Matthias. So wow, we're actually right on time this time around.
I've seen a bunch of questions, by the way, so we can.
Oh yes,
I will read them. But in the meantime,
yeah,
you can go to the summary if you want to.
Well, let's see what questions we have.
Mm-hmm. Let me read.
All right, Bram, explain where your logo went. Because people were like,
My logo wall.
30.
It's
Yeah.
on the other side of town. I moved. New house, no logo yet, or never. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I see one comment about the issue that we looked individually. So we tested the whole dashboard with a couple of cards together. So in this, I shared screenshot of the single card just for real estate purpose. But we test the whole dashboard, so with a couple of cards, just for context.
Yeah, there's stuff like will there be an article after this stream talking about your research? Yes, we will. So, writing
Will
a
be
blog
on
post.
design.homeassistant.io.
Oh yes,
Yes.
Oh yes.
So we've got
yes,
design.homeassistant.io where we post our research. Right now we only have one, so I've got some homework to do to post more. I agree. So we are definitely going to post a blog post in general about the stream, what we are sharing today, just as a quick read up and maybe some more in details. And also we're going to share the research results on our design website. And by the way, what might be interesting is that we got a UX researcher who's going to start real soon.
Oh yes,
That's going to help us out with this.
we are very excited.
We're very excited.
So yeah, you will have everyone here listening to the stream might get interviewed by our new researcher.
Yes. Happy.
Cool.
I'm happy.
I see some pretty good discussions in there. Yeah. In the chat. And definitely, we would love to have like more like design like with research like in our working group.
Yeah. Exactly. So I see one comment about the low density layout. Is there anything coming for high density dashboards? Yeah, definitely. That's something our working group can help out with. So the tel cards is something different than the entity cards we have, where you have multiple entities closer in a smaller card, right? So also the entities card is up for improvement, in my opinion. So that's
it's a difficult one to fit into the sections grid, I guess, but
yeah. I've seen some designs from other Lena, so it's possible.
Mm-hmm. So this is an interesting question. With a garage example, what about having the icon actually showing the state of the garage? In our example, the icon show a closed door, even though the state is open.
In HomeAssist, we actually show an open icon.
It's correct, yeah. So in my example I shared here, it's incorrect. I have to check if that's this bug is slipped into my research.
But then again, would a user expect the icon to show the action or the current state? Because if it's a button, I would expect the action to be shown in the button and not the current state, probably. There's also
and that's a tough part of the icon, right? Because the garage door doesn't close and open immediately, right? It takes time for it to close and open. So should the icon represent the garage door slowly opening? But that would be an issue because that's such a small icon and people should not depending on that small icon to tell how much the garage door is open. So maybe some micro interactions like animations there might be a good idea. But
yes,
something to think of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it could be said for blinds too, right? Because they take a little bit to open and close either way. So yeah, same thing could be said for those.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone want to contribute animated icons? That would be very interesting.
I did see some people asking about it in Discord yesterday in one of the developer channels, like what kind of icon we actually have for the loading. So I think some people are already interested in getting animations in for us. So yeah,
there are
I'm
a bunch of icons around with animation. Yeah, there's some custom stuff. Be careful with them though, for performance on some devices.
Yeah. Well, we know that a lot of people still use an iPad 4 or something for their dashboard. So for sustainability, someone I think made the examples of like they try to use an iPad for Home Assistant dashboard, like really old one, but since the browser on the iPad doesn't work with the dashboard, instead they use a remote desktop client to connect to the Windows machine, showing the browser with the dashboard on it.
That's impressive. That's
Yes.
extra.
Amazing.
Oh, goodness.
So I guess so this is a 1 hour stream and we're right on time. Awesome. So a little bit of summary for Dashboard Chapter 2. So first of all, we got a bunch of new features since Chapter 1. Resizable card with stability options, drag and drop features, and last but not the least, badges, and also the ability to make custom badges. So definitely, if you're a card developer, check that out. Second is we're looking for contributors, and you can sign up at the link below, which is homeassistant.io/join dash
Can you do the
dashboard
magic
dash group.
for showing it here below?
I have to add a banner, which I didn't do before ahead of time. So
Cool.
It's
It's in the
okay.
chat. It's in the chat.
I popped the links in the chat. So both Facebook and YouTube should have those.
yes. So we definitely we want to make this group so that we can design and revamp the old cards together, and maybe even add some new card and incorporate some of the popular cards from Hacks. And then lastly, the UX research findings.
Yes. So let me summarize it once again. So features give the best affordance for the cost of more pixels. So you need a bit more space, but it's make things clearer. So it's up to you as a dashboard designer, I guess. People need to learn how to interact with smaller cards. So if you don't have a feature, but just a smaller card, people need to learn this. That can be doable. I've seen it in the comments, for example, that you can teach your own people that lives in the same house how you should work your dashboard. That's one approach you can do. I'd rather have it intuitive, but that's something we can work on. And the last one, sensor entities must have a different layout than the controllable entities, and that's the middle column. We could use your help on this one.
There's one last question that I do want to answer. Will our experimental dashboard remain when they're out of experimental phase? Well, those dashboards will remain, but since we are changing the dimension of the row heights, the cards that you have might shift around a little bit, which is also why it's experimental, because we're still trying to experiment with like the actual size of the grid. But now that the size of the grid is finalized, and as we have like more cards being revamped to like fit the grid system, then the plan is that at a certain point we should be able to take that as experimental like tag out and to make it like the official default view for the Home Assistant dashboard. Cool. All right, then I can hear birds singing.
Well, it's my place, I guess.
Nice. So yes. So thank you very much for joining us. We're gonna post a link on the blog post tomorrow, and also like in Discord. And yeah, looking forward to meeting you in the working group. Let's do it. All right. That's all for
everyone.
today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
See you
summer.
next time.
Bye,
All right.
guys.
Thank you. Bye.